Hello, I'm Roger Bisbee from the Skill Builder channel, back with another Ask Skill Builders. This is the Skill Builder help desk, and we are inundated with damp questions. So here's an interesting one from Matthew. Now, Matthew's mother has moved into this new house, new to her. It's about 20 years old, and there was a little conservatory built on the back. And they had certain damp coming in here, there and everywhere, it seems. So they put a couple of air bricks in to try and solve the problem, thinking it might be a bit of condensation so they could get a bit more ventilation in there. And they're still noticing damp patches. They're circular, which seems to suggest that they are dot and dab, really. If you can just see the shading on there, you can see the damp where the dots are on the plasterboard. Matthew said that they painted it with a bathroom paint. Although you think, okay, that's a good idea, the trouble with a lot of these bathroom paints and these scrubbable paints is that they've plastic coatings basically, so they're virtually impervious to the water. I say virtually because you still get a certain amount of breathability even with those kind of paints, but it's negligible. So what's happening here, I believe, this is a dot, there's another dot there, there's a one you can hardly see there, and what's happening is that the condensation in the house is hitting these cold spots. There's another little bit cold bridging there, indications that it's hitting these spots, and these are where the adhesive is behind the board. So the board has been fixed to the wall with adhesive, and that condensation is floating around it. In other words, the airborne moisture is floating around in the house. Now here's a clue. Up here they've got one of those little moisture magnets. This may be a Unibond one or somebody else's, and you can see that in the bottom it's collected some water. Now that is an indication that there's moisture in the air, and putting these little vents in here, they cut a couple of holes in the wall and put these vents in, is all very well, but probably if you put your hand in front of that you'll be introducing cold air into the room. So that's really not helping anything at all. What that's doing is just cooling that bit of air off around there and making it even more likely that the damp will condense on those bits of plasterboard. But it's picked the cold bridging places. Now, I don't know what this wall is built of behind here. It's a conservatory, so it may be that it wasn't built to any kind of building reg specifications. So did they even put any insulation in there? Is it a single skin wall, as so often happens with the conservatory, and did they just put the plasterboard over the top of that rather than put some thermal plasterboard in there, which at least has got a little bit of insulation behind it, which may have helped avoid this cold bridging? But who knows, even that might not have done it. The best thing would have been obviously a cavity wall with good insulation in it, and then maybe a bit of thermal board on the inside. But the key to all this is to get rid of that moisture, and those things on the windowsill are helping, but because they're not fanned, all they're doing is picking up moisture that happens to drift past that little bit and land inside there. So you can see how much more water went in there. It means the same amount of water is going to condense on all these cold spots, and without some kind of extractor fan, if Matthew's mother wants to go and buy a dehumidifier and stick the dehumidifier in there, I think that'd probably be about the best bet really at this late stage. Having done all those other things, and you may find that you don't need to start stripping off that bathroom paint or anything else. You can just get the dehumidifier in there, run that for 2 or 3 hours a day. It's roughly my dehumidifier, the one I use in my cellar, is costing about 10p an hour to run, so I don't run it that long. I run it for maybe 2 or 3 hours a day, and you do get a bit of heat back into the room for it, so it's not all loss, if you like, and it does mean that you haven't got to worry about ventilating. I'm not sure what I'd do with those ventilators in the wall, whether I'd keep them or just block them up for the winter, because I'm not sure they're helping the situation very much, if at all. But be interested to put your hand over there and just feel whether the cold air is coming in or going out. If it were going out, then you could say, yeah, they're doing some good, but generally you'd have those at high level in order to do that. As the hot air rises, it would go out and fresh cold air would be sucked in at the bottom. So this may be sucking fresh cold air in and not doing an awful lot of good. So I hope that helps, Matthew, and I hope that helps anybody else who's got that particular problem. As I say, there's a lot of damp about. We're getting it in all kinds of ways at the moment, and you wonder, will it ever stop raining?
Now, if that didn't solve your damp problem, don't worry, because we have created a playlist dedicated to the subject of damp. I bet we're the only channel that has a damp playlist. Go and check it out and subscribe, join our mailing list, do all of the things that can help Skill Builder grow and take over the world.